Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Niner Sickness Podcast. And we got our Niner Fanatic Podcast. We're going to come up with a name for the podcast. This is not set in stone for today's 49ers Happy Hour podcast, but we're going to brainstorm and come up with a name for you guys to represent the podcast. But we are also representing ourselves individually. I got my greatest co-host and social media, Pete Lucas. How you doing, Pete Lucas?
I am great, Beto. Another 49, another week, another 49er victory, and I think it's gonna be a little bit tougher of a game this week, but we're gonna get into all that. But hey, I'm riding high off the last win. How are you feeling?
The same here. Dominance. Thursday night football was a short week from the Sunday before, but the Niners came in, handled their business, took care of the Giants. Most importantly, we didn't have really that many injuries to account for, so that's positive. We took care of the Giants as expected, and for the last 3 weeks, we have scored 30 points in each game. I wonder how this will continue. I mean, people are giving Brock Purdy the 30 to Purdy nickname, and then we'll talk about the Cardinals towards the end. But great victory. We are 3-0. There's only 3 teams that remain undefeated. We are one of them. It is ourselves, Miami Dolphins, and the Philadelphia Eagles going into week 4. I am fired up, baby.
Yeah. No, I'm the 49ers could have easily have used a Thursday night game to have an excuse for a trap game. And they didn't. They went out there and they took care of business. In fact, they actually looked in my opinion, that was their most dominant performance this season. That I know it's a young season, but I think that was their most dominant of the 3 games, and I still think that there's a lot of meat still on the bone, per se, and it. I feel like the 49ers are still going on cruise control. I don't think that we've seen the best of this team, so I think their best days are ahead of them. They just gotta work on the execution.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They got to continue to work on that. Brock Purdy kind of started off a little bit rough, missing some of his receivers. But under the circumstances that I believe Brock Purdy stepped back 39-10, took 39 step back, and I believe the Giants blitzed 34 out of those 39 bad drops by Brock Purdy. That is insane amount of freaking pressure from the defense of the Giants, and they were a little bit caught off guard, but then they adjusted. Once they adjusted, they made the proper play calls, and Kyle was in his playbook doing his thing, and that beautiful pass towards the end where Brock Purdy threw that nice 27, 28-yarder to Brandon Ayuk in the corner of the end zone was beautiful. Debo, excuse me.
Debo.
I'm so used to Brandon Ayuk, but yeah, Debo was beautiful.
It was kind of the same pass that he threw to Ayuk earlier in the season. Like I think it was against Pittsburgh. So it was a similar ball placement. But yeah, Debo, I would say that was the first time that I'd seen. That was the best version of Debo that we had seen since for probably 2 seasons now. And since he had his big season and he became the wide back, that was the best that we've seen Debo. I think he's actually, if you watch the tape, his routes are crisper. He's still playing physical. They're not using him as much as a wide back, which I like. And but when they do use him, it just makes him much more effective. But yeah, I agree with you about Brock. Brock struggled in the beginning. They were trying to play a lot of bump and run coverage and a lot of man coverage, and it was kind of he had to figure it out in the beginning. And they were blitzing the hell out of him, so there wasn't much space to be had between his receivers and the coverage. So not to give him any excuses, but then he figured it out. And kudos to him, for starting to read those coverages and taking advantage of it. So, but it was all around a really good performance by the 49ers, like coaching staff. Defense played outstanding. And yeah, I mean, it was a good win.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful win. Uh, I was excited to see that game. Like I said, it was a Thursday night game, short week. Now they have a long week of recovery. We took care of business with the Giants. They couldn't. I mean, they were missing out their running back and I believe a
Mhm.
left tackle. But nevertheless, you gotta next man up has to stand up and play. We were missing Brandon Ayuk in that game, and we handle our business. And then now we're facing the Cardinals going into week 4, and the Cardinals have in all of the 3 games they've been in, they have been in close, except the Giants one where they allowed the Giants to come in the second half and just wipe their butt with them. But they played the Cowboys very well, and surprisingly, that was the upset of the week when they beat the
Yeah.
Cowboys. Now, how much is that that the Cardinals are a better team than we think they are, or that the coach of the Cardinals are just being the ex defensive coordinator of the Eagles or offense? I don't know what he was over there, but he's so familiar with the Dallas Cowboys. Do you think it was because he's familiar with the Cowboys that he was able to game plan for them, or do you think the Cardinals are better than what a lot of people think they are?
I honestly, I think that they're better than what a lot of people think. I honestly, I thought that Gannon was not going to be a good coach. Like all the things that we had heard out of Philadelphia was that Gannon was they did not like him as a defensive coordinator, and and yeah, they won, but mostly it was that defense was because they just had really good players on the defense. But I think what we've seen is that as much as people were trying to make fun of him and they were making fun of the videos of his pre his meeting talks with the team. I mean, he's motivating those players.
Yeah.
Like they're playing well. They're playing solid football. And I don't think that they have the talent. They let a lot of the talent go. Like so they don't have the necessarily the big name talent to really I mean, Buda Baker's not even playing.
No.
Buda Baker's not playing. Like they don't have they have a third string quarterback really in there in Josh Dobbs and they're playing well. They're playing well. So I mean, you got to give it to the coach, and I think that you could say that it's that he might have known the Cowboys system a little bit, and that might have helped him in that game. That's true, but the other 2 games they've been in those games, they were like you said, they were ahead of the Giants. So that's not really an excuse. I think at some point we just have to admit that the guy might be a half decent coach.
Yeah, he definitely has the players playing for him. I mean, Joshua Dobbs was getting hired, going through the interview process of being hired from Amazon Prime as a driver when he got the phone call of the Arizona Cardinals because Kyler Murray was going to be absent for most of the year, and now he's in there running. And trying to look like freaking Josh Allen with his legs, and I think a lot of it, the Cowboys underestimated the Cardinals. I think the Cowboys went in there with an attitude that we are them boys. We're America's team. We got the best defense in the NFL. Blah blah blah. And the Dallas Cowboys defense is good. They're good.
Yeah,
Yes, they took a blow when they lost Diggs to injury, but
they were not good in this game.
no, but we always knew what the offense was, right? Dak
Yeah,
Prescott, listen, Dak Prescott is what Dak Prescott is. When the game is on the line, when they're behind in points and they're trailing, and Mike McCarthy needs to put the ball in Dak Prescott's hands to win the game, he always lays an egg and throws a stupid interception to a defender, which he did. And I think
yeah.
Mike McCarthy is not trusting Dak Prescott. And they went in there thinking that they were the almighty Cowboys, and they got a piece of humble pie.
Yeah. I look at the situation for the Cowboys, and the way I've looked at Dak Prescott is the same way I look at most NFL quarterbacks. Is that I think that there's a misconception in today's NFL that that quarterbacks, that all quarterbacks are Tom Brady and they can throw the ball 40, 50 times a game, and that's just not accurate. That's just not accurate. Most quarterbacks cannot throw the ball 40 and 50 times and not make mistakes. That's just not a thing. And I think that that's including Dak Prescott. When he was at his best, it was because they had a two-headed monster in Pollard and Zeke, and they were running the hell out of the ball 30 plus times a game, and he was able to play off of that. Dak Prescott was able to score off of that. And and it's just, and I feel like they had more talent at wide receiver at the time as well. I think they had a better tight ends as well. But Dak is not that guy to elevate your wide receivers. That's not going to happen. So I think it's a little bit of both. I think that it's a little bit of giving Dak a little bit too much to do, like too much responsibility. Maybe you should just run the ball, take the pressure off of him a little bit. But we'll see if they. I hope they don't figure it out. I'll be honest.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. This is the thing that if the Cowboys have a lead, like they did against the Giants and what they did against the Jets, they had the lead. The Cowboys will function okay on offense, but once they fall behind and they have to put their hands on Dak Prescott, that's when things fall apart. But enough of the Cowboys. We're facing the Cardinals. We are used to the Cardinals. Now, Gannon is a new head coach, so even though we're used to the Cardinals every year, this is a new coaching staff. So Kyle has to kind of figure him out. How do you think this game's going to go on Sunday? Do you think it's going to be kind of a slow start for the Niners trying to figure out what they're doing offensively in Arizona, or do you think the Niners will hit the road running and just take the lead and never give it up to the Cardinals?
You know, I'm tempted. I'm tempted to say that it's going to be a close game, but I actually think it's going to be a blowout.
Okay.
I think the 49ers are going to come in there and take care of business. They're coming off of their little mini bye. I think they're going to come in there at full strength, and I think that they're just going to blow their doors off. I don't think that that the Cowboys have the same artillery that the 49ers have on offense. I just don't. I mean, we have Debo, Ayuk's probably going to be back, Kittle, all the weapons. We all know all the weapons. I just think that there's just too much firepower. It's a completely different animal than what the Cowboys are dealing with. Cowboys are known for their defense, which they're even down guys.
Yeah.
And they were down on their offensive. They were down offensive linemen as well. 49ers
Yes,
are at
they
full
were.
strength.
Yes.
It's not going to be the same animal you're facing. So I'm tempted to say that because it's a division game and because they had been playing so well that it's going to be a close game, but I just don't think so. I think it's going to be a blowout.
Interesting. Real quick, just want to acknowledge all our people in the chat. Don Dodson's in the house. We got Daniel Barry Sports. We got Caleb Rise, Jason Parks, Nighthawk, Afterburner in the house. Welcome to the chat. We got a question from Caleb Rise. I hope I didn't butcher the name. It says, I think the Niners will make a statement on this game. If they do make a statement, what kind of statement do you think they're going to make?
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out which way it is. But
I was wondering, I looked up and you're like, I thought you were breakdancing.
I'm trying to point at the the point, but
Like
anyway, so yeah, exactly. That's what I meant to do. But I think that the statement that they're going to make is that it's not sweet for anybody. The 49ers have been going on cruise control and still blowing teams out. I don't think we've seen the best of the 49ers. And when they put it all together, this might be the game that they put it all together. And you don't want to be the team that they put it all together on. But I think that this might be a perfect situation for them to put it all together, and the defense and the offense perfect unison. Yeah, it could be ugly. It could be really ugly.
Yeah, I believe Kevin Rice agrees with you. He says it's going to be a blow as well. If the Niners do put it together, I'm looking forward to do it because they haven't had that complete game yet. Even though they've been dominant in the last 3 games, they haven't put it all together in all 3 phases, and I'm looking for that to take place. Just want to welcome real quick Christian Carver, 314 is in the house. We got Big Daddy Niners in the house. Welcome, gentlemen, to the podcast. This is, we're using the name of 49ers Happy Hour podcast for today purposes, but we are going to put our brain together and brainstorm, myself and Pete, to come a name for our podcast. If you guys have any suggestions, put in the comments.
Get some suggestions from the fans out there.
Absolutely. And if we like your, listen, if you guys give us a suggestion and me and Pete like it, I'll give you a prize for coming up with a name for our podcast. But I am your host, Beto Luna from the Niner Sickness Podcast. That is my co-host, Peter Lucas from the Niner Fanatic Podcast. All our information is in the links below. Make sure to follow each and every one of us on all our platforms across the social media. Pete brings great content. He has great shows, great guests. So make sure to tune in to my brother Peter, for he brings some excellent points when it comes to our beloved 49ers. So going back to the Niners and Cardinals, Daniel Jones, real quick, was not able to be so effective with his legs. We were able to shut him down with our front 4. Do you think the Niners, I noticed that Josh Dobbs has, if you give him the opportunity, he can burn you with his legs. Do you think the Niners will make sure that doesn't happen? And if they do, how would they go by doing it?
I think it'll be some more of what we saw against Daniel Jones, and wherever Daniel Jones, whenever he even looked like he was going to run, I noticed that the linebackers kind of underneath were just looking dead at him and letting him know whichever way he goes, like they were right there with him. And then he would end up just throwing it away. But I think that's what it's going to be. A lot of the linebackers following the eyes of the quarterback. And I think that Josh Dobbs is a little bit more athletic than Daniel Jones. But I just think it's going to be the same outcome. I think that he's probably going to actually run it, unlike Daniel Jones. And but I think it might not. It might be to his detriment. Then it might turn out to be. It might end up getting him hurt. Because I think that was him running was like one of the reasons why they were able to get the victory against the Cowboys, because he has Marquise or he has Hollywood Brown and who as weapons. So yeah, it's gonna have to be him. And I just don't see it being. I just don't see it happening.
I love it. Real quick, Pete, we got Big Daddy Niners with Niners Blast podcast. And then we have Christian Carver with BPL, which podcast with both of our initials of our first name, and then both of us having the same L as our last name. And then this one's kind of I like from Jason Parks, Faithful Hour podcast. Ooh, that's kind of that's a nice one. Catchy. Yeah, the Faithful Hour podcast. I like that. So keep bringing in your comments. If you're watching this video as a replay, make sure to put in the comments. Give us your best name for a podcast for myself and Peter. And if we choose to go with one of the names that you guys provide, we will reward you with a nice gift for participating in the name search of our future podcast that we will be bringing to you guys every Tuesday at 6:30 Pacific Standard Time and 8:30 Central and 9:30 Eastern Time going forward. So you say blowout. Mm-hmm. What do the Niners need to do other than playing a complete game? What do they need to do in all three phases to ensure that this is a blowout?
I think just what we finished talking about is containing Josh Dobbs, and his running ability. I think that they did a really good job of against Daniel Jones of just kind of spying him around, making sure that he knew that they were there, and that he didn't just take off running. But I think Josh Dobbs is just going to take off running regardless. I think that he's one of their best. I think he is their best option for offense, and so I think it just comes up to tackling, and I think that that's the 49ers strength is tackling. And I think that I think the linebackers are really going to be the key, as well as on the offensive side. I think it's going to be a lot of what we saw the last game, mixing up the Thunder and Lightning, Elijah Mitchell, CMC. I think it was a perfect mix last week. CMC got 18 carries, Elijah Mitchell got 11, and then bring in Mason at the end to take it home. But that's what I think. I think it should just be the running game, a majority of the running game, and then let Purdy build off of play action.
I like that. I like that. It's cliche, but it's just one-on-one football. Run the ball, stop the run. Don't turn the ball over. Win the turnover battle, which the Niners have been doing in these last three games. That's why we have 3 doves. The Niners have not turned the ball over. I think we only turned it over once in the week 1, and from that point, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, I think that Brock Purdy is the only quarterback in the NFL right now within 3 games that have not thrown an interception. I think every quarterback that has played in the last 3 weeks have thrown an interception. Brock is the only one without, and I'm not saying that for Brock to do one on Sunday, but I'm just saying that's a good stat for Brock. Yeah, I think that we're going to run the ball down the throats with McCaffrey. I love the way they implemented Elijah Mitchell last week against the Giants. We saw more. I think he played like 11 minutes, which was great, or 11 snaps. Not 11 minutes,
snaps,
but 11 snaps, which was great. And they gave it, and then Mason came in to clean up duties with Sam Bradford back there. But I like this. I like the idea that they sprinkled in Elijah Mitchell. I'm all for giving it to CMC. I'm all for CMC running it down people's throats, but we are going into week 4. It's a long season. We're looking at going into the postseason. The Niners need to be careful how they use CMC. We don't need CMC getting a flat tire towards the end of the season. We need to keep him fresh. And we have Elijah Mitchell right now healthy, and we have Jordan Mason back there. And we also have I forgot the kid from LSU there. They can come in and step
TDP.
in. So, yes, TDP. So do you think the Niners should be a little bit more cautious with CMC going forward? Or you're like, no, he's the bell cow, run him. If he keeps making plays, just keep running him. Or do you think the Niners should kind of watch and monitor his snaps and kind of sprinkle in more of Elijah Mitchell?
I mean, I absolutely think that I think that the last game was a perfect and ideal mix, because what we don't want is for Kyle to do a little bit too much with the mix, because CMC is a threat that doesn't, because he also had 5 catches, as well as those 18 carries. So I think it's really important that he's on the field, but I just like the fact that he was using Elijah Mitchell as a changeup. And then at the end of the game, CMC wasn't even in the building, or not in the building, but you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't out there, and it was Jordan Mason closing out the game. That's really what I'd like to see from CMC. I know that Kyle cannot keep him off the field, but at the same time, just give him a few changeups just to get him to keep him from building up the miles, and I think that that's key. But also, if you look at the reason why I say that is the key to the game is Arizona gave up 185 yards rushing on
Yep.
in the last game, and Tony Pollard had 23 carries, 122 yards. Nobody had under 5.3 yards a carry against Arizona last week. So I look for the 49ers to take advantage of that run defense, and because the pass defense wasn't as bad, nearly as bad. Like so it'll just be it's right in Shanny's wheelhouse. He loves to play ball control, loves to lean on the defense, and I think that this defense is going to be much more stout than the Cowboys defense was last week.
Absolutely, I agree. I just want to just acknowledge three people that came in. David Villa, welcome to the show. We got Brad Lodge in the house, and we got Daniel Cantu in the house. How you doing, Daniel, Brad, and David? Welcome to the podcast. No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I wanted to ask you a question, Pete. In 3 games, small sample size, but within the last 3 games, defensively, I would like to get your honest opinion on our new coordinator, Steve Wilkes. How do you think he has done to this point? What has he not done so well in your opinion? What has he done and what could he do better?
I think that Steve Wilkes is trying to find his way. That's the vibe I get. He's trying to find his way with this set of personnel. I think that he feels he can do whatever he wants with this personnel. That there's so much flexibility across the board, especially in the front 7, that he's finding out what works best again. And I think that he's kind of, so far it seems like he's tailoring his game plan to the opponent, which I don't necessarily like. I feel like they need to have an identity, and unless it's a very high powered opponent, I feel like you should be imposing your will. This is the number 1 defense in the league. You should be imposing your will on that other team. They can't really do anything if you're on your A game. And I think that that's something in the league as a whole that has been lost. I think a lot of teams do that same thing. They try to tailor their game plan to the opponent instead of just doing what they do well. I would like to see more press man again, because I do think with the pass rush that they have, that I think we saw it in the game against the Giants, that is what the 49ers do best. D'Amico and Shanny and them kind of built this team the last couple of years around that concept. And what I don't like to see is a lot of off coverage. I think that we saw in the game against the Rams that is a recipe for disaster. We need to have our guys need to be up close and personal and being physical. So that's how I kind of feel about Steve Wilkes. I think that he's been solid so far, but I think he's still finding his way. I think he's still feeling it out. I can't hear you, Beto.
Sorry, I have the window open behind me, and there's
Yeah.
kids playing, so I mute myself so you guys, well, as you're speaking, so that you
Gotcha.
guys don't hear the background. And I was too busy looking at PFF that I forgot that I had mute myself. Thank you for mentioning that. I'm like, blah blah blah. What is he saying? No, but I really agree with you what you said. I think that I like your evaluation of Steve Wilkes. I think he's doing a great job. He is trying to find his identity with this defensive roster. He comes from a background of defensive coordinator with the secondary. I think he's trying to figure out the secondary, what he can and what he cannot do, trying to get the right players in the right spots. He trusts Chris Casera to do what he does. I just want to
I want to say this one thing. I do love the 5 down linemen on obvious pass downs.
I was just about to say that. You got to go
love
sneaky from me.
Yeah,
That's where I was going. No, it's okay. I was going to say that. I love how they're using Kinlaw. Kinlaw,
Yeah.
for all the crap that we've been talking about, and it's only been 3 games, but looks like he is 100% healthy. He looks not only healthy, but he looks like he's hungry. Once again, he has that fire. when it comes to pressure, and again, if anybody knows me, I'm not a big sack guy. People that I love sacks, and if they come, great. But I'm more, are you providing pressure? Are you creating havoc towards the quarterback? Is your presence on the field known to the QB that you're going after? I can care. Sorry about that. I don't care about sacks. Those will come when they come. But are you providing? And since they brought those 5 linemen, because they put in Kinlaw in there, and they're bringing the house, and I love that. I love it. I want to see more of it. So I 100% agree with that. Keep bringing Kinlaw. He continues to play the way he's played. Utilize him. Use him. And we are caving in that offense. Have you noticed that the quarterbacks that we have faced so far have to run to the outside, and that's when Bosa and Jackson can do their best damage when the quarterback is sent to the outside because we're caving in the pocket with Eric Armstead, Hargrave, and now Kinlaw. I love it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Like it just goes back to you're gonna blitz. Steve Wilkes wants to blitz anyway.
Yes.
Like, so you might as well just send another defensive lineman, and then it's just 5-on-5. And if you want to stick a running back in there for pass pro, okay, or stick your extra tight end and take a weapon off of the field, great.
Yeah.
Like great. Like you're just playing into our hands when you do that. So I think that we had said last season. I think a lot of people were saying last season that they should try using 5 down linemen because the 49ers were just so deep at the defensive line. And I love that he's trying it. And it's so far it's worked out great. And that could be adding to the identity, which yeah, like I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. I just want to real quick acknowledge Eric Wallace for coming into the chat. How you doing, sir? We got Rick Diaz in the house. What's up, Rick? My brother. We got who else came in that snuck in there? Okay, those are the 2 gentlemen that came in. Welcome. So I brought up the PFF pass rush for the last 3 games. Just for the game against the Giants. Javon Hargrave registered a 92.3. He had 1 sack, 1 quarterback hit, 3 hurries. Okay.
Yeah.
He in 27 passes attempts. He rushed 27 times. Then you got Nick Bosa, who in 29 passes he rushed 28, so he was asked to drop back in one of those. He registered a 91.5. He had a total of 6 quarterback hurries, 1 sack, 1 quarterback hit, and he had a percentage of 16.7 in that. And his win percentage, get this, his win percentage was 33.3. So what that means is every time he went against that offensive lineman, he was kicking his ass. Plain and simple. He was 33.3. And you had Bosa. Oh, I'm sorry. I rephrased this. Bosa was 24% win. Hargrave was 20%. Kinlaw was 33.3.
Yep.
Winning against now. Now Kinlaw only came in 15 times through the whole game, but nevertheless, what he has done is great. Drake Jackson was a 13.6 win rate. Our defenses looks good, man. Bosa, Armstead. What was Armstead? 91.3. He had 3 total hurries. He had 0 sacks and 1 quarterback hurry. Now, Eric Armstead is so underrated, Pete. He does not pop up in the stats like other players do, but what he does to allow the rest of the players to do their thing is incredible. He's like the unsung hero of that defense. He doesn't come up in stats. They don't come up in highlights, but all the work that he does allows Nick Bosa, Drake Jackson, Hargrave, and Kinlaw to be and do what they do best. We might have talked about this before, but I want to get your thoughts on Eric Armstead. What is your personal opinion of this guy? I believe you like him. Do you think this guy is the heart and soul of that middle for us?
I think that Eric Armstead makes everybody's job easier. I
Come
think
on
that
now.
they really just kind of use him. If you watch games of older like 2019 of DeForest Buckner, like when DeForest Buckner was on the squad, it's almost identical to what Eric Armstead does for the team right now. Like he is taking on most of the time like a double team. He's penetrating to kind of blow up run fits. He does all the things to free up the other guys to do what they do, like Javon Hargrave, who has 2 sacks, and pushing the pocket forward. I think that that is such an unsung, like it's such a people just don't respect it enough, because what happens when you push the pocket forward is that it forces the quarterback to go to the outside, and who's waiting outside? You either got Bosa, who is a maniac on one side, and or you've got the athletic freak in Drake Jackson. Like I'm gonna start calling that guy like Mr. Fantastic or something, because his arms are. It seems like his arms are like 20 feet long. Like they're just everywhere, which is why he blocks so many passes. But whichever way you try to roll out, there's somebody waiting. So I think Eric Armstead is perfect for this defense. I think this defensive line as a whole has been perfectly constructed, and I know that I haven't even mentioned Cleveland Farrell, but I think he deserves a mention as well on like on early downs. So yeah, I love Eric Armstead. I think that he's an unsung hero that doesn't get enough credit.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. He is an unsung hero that does not get enough appreciation from the fan base. I understand that when we lost DeForest Buckner, the Niners tried to sign a DeForest to a long contract. He wasn't willing to take the money the Niners were offering. He took more money. He moved on. But I remember, and when he left, that the Niners were so upset that we kept Armstead instead of Buckner. Now, as a
Mhm.
player, individual player, Buckner is the better player than Armstead, in my opinion. But in the scheme that we run defensively, the player that is more valuable to this defense at that time was, for me, Eric Armstead over DeForest Buckner. What are your thoughts on that?
With like on Eric Armstead over DeForest.
Now, like out of both of
Um,
those players, who was a better player to stay behind? How who can help out the team more?
well, Well, I mean, DeForest Buckner was the better of the two. Like, let's just be
Correct.
real. Like, the, but I would say that Eric Armstead, like when they were together, Eric Armstead complimented DeForest so well
Yes.
that it was a match made in heaven. Now, when he left, it was obvious that Eric Armstead was missing. He was missing a running mate in the middle. Like they had DJ Jones, who was really good in his own right, but it was different. It wasn't the same. They weren't pushing pockets forward, and they were doing a really great job against the run, but it just wasn't the same. And because in 2019, I think that was the biggest reason. I know that everybody talks about D Ford and Bosa screaming off the edge, but it was really the pocket, the DeForest Buckner and Eric Armstead pushing the middle of that offensive line that caused that 2019 that made that 2019 defensive line so great. Because I'm telling you, when you press that pocket forward, it causes that QB has to run somewhere, and they can't just step up in the pocket. So it's going to cause a lot of sacks. I think as these guys gel together, it's going to be more and more sacks. I feel like.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Listen, when we got rid of Buckner, we were, a lot of Niner fans weren't happy because of the move. But I always ask people this: Kinlaw did not work out. He's doing okay right now, but he hasn't worked out the way we wanted him to work out. A lot of it had to do with injuries and so forth. But I tell people this: without DeForest Buckner trade, we don't get a hype, number one. Therefore, we're not able to trade with Tampa and move down one spot and accumulate extra picks that we later on used in the same round to move up from 32nd to 25 to get Brandon Ayuk. So I tell people this: if you love Brandon Ayuk, he would not have been here if it wasn't for that trade. So now if Kinlaw would have worked out, it would have been the best trade. He didn't, unfortunately, and that's why people are a little skeptical about that trade. But the Niners acknowledged they were needing someone to put pressure in the middle. Our weakest spot last year was in the middle. So what did they do? They went out and got Hargrave. They brought in Hargrave, and they went ahead and took care of that spot. Hargrave already has 2 sacks in 3 games. Okay, he's on pace to getting multiple sacks. He's been a big difference maker. Eric Armstead becomes alive when you have another guy. Eric Armstead, if he's taking on 2 defenders, it's a little harder for him. But when he has taken one-on-ones, because Hargrave is demanding 2, Nick Bosa is demanding 2, that allows Eric Armstead to do his thing. That allows Drake Jackson to have a lot of those one-on-ones. All they got to do is win their one-on-ones, and we're in business. And now you add a 5th lineman like they did with Kinlaw. If you're an offensive mind, coach, you're like, okay, you got to defend the front 4, which are monstrous. Then you add a 5th lineman like Kinlaw. You're not blitzing, so you're still dropping back in coverage. How do you, what do you do as a coordinator? How do you scheme for that? You got 5 big dudes coming at you full force. How do you avoid the collision, which is those 5 guys?
I mean, the only way is to hope that the 49ers aren't playing press man. Because if they're not playing press man, then you have a chance, because if they're playing an off coverage, then the quarterback can make a run for it. But if they're not, and everybody's playing closer to the line of scrimmage, it's going to be really hard, because you probably got 2 seconds at best to get the ball out. And I just think that as this year evolves, I think we're going to see more and more of that, not just on 3rd down. So just be ready for that.
I like it. I like it. I love our defense. I love our secondary. Lenore's been looking good. Ward has been looking good. And the guy that we brought in the offseason that wasn't doing too good, that looked like it was almost a mistake of getting him in free agency. He wasn't playing well. He wasn't looking good in practice. Is Isaiah Oliver. But so far, the last 2 games, he has been stepping up. It seems like he's getting more comfortable with that defense, the scheme of the defense. He's finding his feet underneath him. And I've been seeing him gradually get better under this team. Now, it's a small sample size. It's only been 3 games. He's only played well in 2. But at least he's heading in the right direction. He's trending in the right direction. How good do you think this defense can be if Isaiah Oliver, being that slot corner, can really hit his strides?
I mean, if they're playing press man, like that plays into Isaiah Oliver's wheelhouse, because he's a bigger physical corner. And if he can get his hands on you, and that defensive line is doing its thing, and doesn't leave those corners on islands, it just plays into his hands, because you're not gonna break his tackling. As he's shown, he's a pretty sure tackler, and because of his size, you're not gonna break out of those tackles. He's able to be physical. It's giving him the ability to be physical and and like set a tone with those wide receivers. Also, it's just when you're able to lean and put your hands on those smaller slot receivers, it demoralizes them a little bit throughout the game, and they can't. And then sometimes it makes those guys give up on the play. And I think that that's what the 49ers defense is really good at, is being so physical that eventually, like, it makes the offense keep their head on a swivel because they're afraid they're going to get hit from who knows what angle.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, last year the Niners had a thing that they developed with defensively where every team that played the Niners that week, whether we won or lost, went up losing the week after. That's how much
Mm-hmm.
their team got beat up by our defense, and that was a great stat. I just want to real quick acknowledge
Pittsburgh
Austin.
finally beat that curse.
Yeah, he sure. Yeah, they sure did. Austin, welcome. Jose Villa, welcome. David McNiner's in the house. Welcome, sir.
Oh,
Thank you, gentlemen,
David.
for coming in. I got the honor to meet David McNiner for the first time Saturday. We went. We were. He came down from Utah for the Giants and Niner game, and then we got to go to Berkeley to have some breakfast. Me and him and four other Corey Davis, Bryant Colt, and John Jay. We got together, and then we went to San Francisco, gave the tour to David McNiner. He got to go through the Golden Gate Bridge, the Bay Bridge, and the Richmond Bridge. So it was nice meeting him in person. Great guy. Thank you for stepping into the show. So real
Absolutely.
quick, as we're coming close to our hour show, I want to ask you. I want to get your MVP player against the Arizona. Who is going to be your MVP offensively? Who's going to be your MVP defensively to get this victory over Arizona on Sunday?
So offensively, I mean, I think it's going to be. You know what? It's easy to say. See, it's going to be CMC. That's low hanging fruit, right? But I think I'm going to go with Brock on this game, just because I think that CMC is going to open up some big play opportunities for Brock in the play action game, and I think he's going to hit it this week. So I'm going to go with Brock, and then defensively, I'm gonna say Greenlaw. I'm gonna say Greenlaw. I think that what I saw in the game plan against Daniel Jones was they kind of had Greenlaw like hunting him, and and he was constantly looking dead at Daniel Jones like I dare you. I wish you would try to run it, and that's the vibe that I got. And Daniel Jones just kind of like just thought twice about it and just decided not to go. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Greenlaw because I think he's gonna get plenty of opportunities for tackles this week.
Greenlaw, okay. Greenlaw, I like it. I like it. Real quick, I just want to acknowledge Tony Smith, who just popped in. Welcome, Tony Smith. We got Bebop Jones in the house. Welcome, Bebop. Thank you.
Bebop.
Jose Avila brought up a question. He says, what do you guys think about bringing in a big bag play Leonard Fournette to help us with the goal line? It looks like coach does not trust Mitchell with the fumble issues that he has. I'm not a big guy bringing in Fournette. I don't know. I don't think we need him, but I want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that they have four good running backs that most teams would probably pick over Leonard Fournette as it is. And I think that they've got a goal line back in Jordan Mason that they just don't use. So, I don't think it's because Shanny doesn't trust him. I just think that he just would rather. I think CMC just gives him more options in the it's just more of a threat situation against the defense. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I agree.
How
I
do you
don't think
feel
that.
about it?
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think we need a Leonard Fournette type of player. If anything, I would like to bring in a safety, or excuse me, a safety, a corner, or bring another pass rusher if we would think about bringing someone in. I think we're pretty good at our running position with CMC, Elijah, and Jordan Mason there, and then we got Juice. We can't forget we still have Juice that we can punch it in with if need to be. So, a great question, Jason. I just don't agree that I don't think we need to bring in Fournette myself. So we play the Arizona Cardinals on Sunday at Levi's, a home game. And then we play the Cowboys the following week, which we will talk about the Cowboys next week on our episode. Give me a score prediction for this game, and don't be shy.
Yeah. I think that the 49ers beat the 30 streak, and I think I'm going 35. I'm going to go 35-10. 49ers. Like, I just think
that is a beatdown.
This is going to be, I think it's going to be a pretty significant beatdown. Like, I think it might not be that exact score, but I think it's going to feel like that exact score regardless.
Well, what is it that the Cardinals have done that have not impressed you for you to feel comfortable saying that we're going to beat them that bad? What is it about the Cardinals that has not impressed you? Like, are they false gold?
Well, it's not that they haven't impressed. It impresses me that they've been in the games that they have been. But I look at the Cowboys; they were missing a bunch of players, and I don't really. I think that they're susceptible to having a hiccup like that. I think that I don't have a lot of faith in McCarthy as a coach. But then who do they get? Who did they get beat by? The Giants? They
Yeah.
got beat by the Giants. The Giants came back on them. And who did they lose to week 1?
They lost to who did they lose to week 1? That's a good question. Real quick, just for a second, did you hear my birds in the background?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so I lowered my mic.
They lost to the Commanders. They lost to the Commanders
okay.
week 1.
And the Commanders just got their butt kicked from the Bills.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that while they kudos to them for playing hard. I get it. Like, kudos to them for playing hard, but I think the 49ers are a different animal, and they're not playing a wounded team like they did with Dallas. It's going to be the 49ers probably at full strength. And when the 49ers are at full strength, we have the best roster in football, and I think we have one of the best coaches in football. So I just think that it's too much. It's too much.
Okay, real quick, Brock, as good as he's been, and he has no interception, it's definitely not by the lack of trying. He should have had 2 interceptions against the Giants.
He should have 3.
3. And one of them, Kittle, credit to Kittle, he went from the old pro tight end to a defensive player on that one play when he swatted the ball down, which clearly would have been intercepted.
And he did the straps after.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you see that?
Yeah, that was cool. So, do you think this is a week where that one or a few of those mistakes that get away from him doesn't get away from him?
I like that's why I picked him I don't think it's going to be this week. I think that it's entirely possible next week when they play the Cowboys, but I don't think it's going to be this week. Okay. I just think that they're going to lean on CMC and the running backs, but the reason why I say that Brock is going to be the MVP this week is because he's going to get those opportunities off play action that I think are just going to be. I think they're going to be splash plays, and it's going to be. I think he might get another like 250. I think he's going to end up with like about 250, but I think he gets like 3 touchdowns.
Oh, I like it. 3 touchdowns, huh? Yeah. All right. So does he go over 300 yards again?
I don't think he's going to go over 300 yards. I think that he's going to end up with like 250 somewhere around there. but I don't. Because I do think they're going to run the ball mostly. But I think that in the red zone, he's probably going to get 2 touchdowns just in the red, like while he's in the red zone, that they're going to pass it on the way in. So that's just the vibe I get, is that off of play action, he's gonna kill somebody off of play action.
Okay. Last question for you. Do we have a takeaway defensively in this
Oh yeah,
game? If we do,
game.
who is the first one to have that defensive takeaway?
We have won every game, and I mean, so far it's been the safeties. And well, no, the corners got involved too. Like, uh,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna say Mooney Ward. I just think he. Well, no. This is not the team for Mooney Ward to get a pick. Because he does well
Do you
against
guys hear my birds real quick?
bigger.
I'm going to mean to stop you. I'm trying to control it.
Yeah, no worries.
Can you hear him?
Yeah, I can hear him a little
Okay.
bit.
Go ahead. I'm going to lower it.
But Mooney does well against. He has really big games against bigger wide receivers, and the Cardinals don't have that. So when he struggles against those smaller, quicker wide receivers, and not so much struggles, but it's not as he doesn't do as well. And so I'm gonna go with Lenore. I'm gonna go with Lenore in this game.
I like that. I like the Lenore pick. I'm going to go with Gibson. Gibson
Yeah, that's
is.
always possible too.
Yeah, I like Gibson to get one in this one. So I like Gibson. And I think my MVP on defense is going to be Drake Jackson. I expect Drake Jackson to step up and make a difference in this game. He's been kind of quiet. He started hot against the Steelers and kind of got a little quiet against the Rams and then against the Giants. I think he's going to step up and say hello to everybody again on Sunday. And then offensively, I'm going to give it to, let's see, offensively, I think I'm going to give it to Kittle. I think Kittle's going to have one of his games. They don't have Buda Baker back there, the Kittle killer.
Or Isaiah Simmons.
Isaiah played in the Giants and he didn't do much with the Giants.
Yeah, he didn't do nothing.
Exactly. And then, the Cardinals are hurting so bad that they had to go push one of our safeties off our practice squad.
That hurt my feelings. Because I love Quantrez Knight. I thought that he's one of those guys that just it's hard for him to get on the field with how deep the 49ers are, but he's going to be a good player. I think that did he start last week for them?
That I don't know.
I'd have to look at it.
But I mean, I don't know if they brought him in more because they needed a safety to start, or they brought him in because they moved the guy to that was already there and they needed someone behind him. That's a good question. If he does start, let's say just for argument's sake, he starts against the Niners. Do you think he'll be impactful in this game?
I mean, I don't think so. I just think that he was fifth, sixth string for a reason. I think that he's a high energy player. He's a high effort player. But at the end of the day, he can be had. And yeah, it's gonna be kind of no, he didn't play last week. But I just think that if he does the biggest contribution that he can have is to give them some insight as to what the 49ers are going to do this Sunday. But that's the extent of what he's going to give them on Sunday.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that's going to be our show for tonight. We'll try to keep it within an hour. Be mindful of our viewers. For those that are watching from Central or East Coast, it's getting a little late. Tomorrow is Wednesday. People need to get to work. So, Pete, once again, it's been an honor and pleasure doing a podcast with you, my friend. I always enjoy myself when I am doing a podcast with you. We will come up with some names for a podcast. Keep giving us names. If you're watching this on a replay, make sure to leave in the comments a name that you think that me and Pete would like for our podcast. If we do choose your name, we will honor you with a gift our way of saying thank you for your participation. Thank you for joining us. Make sure to follow us on our social media. Links are all in the description below. Our YouTube, our Facebook, our Twitters, whatever we have. It's in the description. Make sure to follow us and support us. And make sure to hit the like button. And if you've been watching this on the Niner Sickness podcast, I thank you. But make sure to go over to Niner Fanatic Podcast and hit the like button. We are multiple casting on both channels. So make sure to go there and hit the like. Let's get those likes up for my boy Pete, so that way his content can be shown by YouTube and he can get as much as the subscribers that he needs to continue to grow. Pete, any last words before we go?
Hey, go Niners! And like Beto was saying, make sure that you like the video. Make sure that you subscribe to both channels. Make sure that you share the video, and make sure that you you tell a friend to tell a friend, so we can be friends every day, every week. That's what it's all about, the community.
Let's continue to grow together. Everyone in the chat, just want to give you guys a hand of applause for being great. Appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for showing up. You guys are truly the MVP of our podcast. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. Enjoy other podcasts throughout the week, and we'll see you here next week at 6:30 Pacific, 8:30 Central, and 9:30 Eastern here on our channels. Good night, God bless, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Go Niners.
Go Niners.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.